Closed session, the regular board meeting for self-hosted. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Before we get started this evening, just gonna kind of go back over how the meeting works. We're trying to instill that so that we can get down to this where we have a process. As we go through the agenda items, we will get a report from staff. After that report, I will open it up for board comment. After the board is done with their comments, we will open for public comment. We ask you to keep it to 3 minutes. After that, I will close the public comment, and then we will reopen for the additional board comments or questions of staff or whatever may be at that point in time. So we're trying to get away from the back and forth. So when board asks a question, please answer the question that they're asking. We're not going into a debate. It's a question and an answer, not a back and forth. The conversation continuing on and on is especially as we get into other things throughout the year that may have other avenues and stuff that they can go on. We'll be here till midnight. So with that being said, we have open for public comment. This is anything that is not on tonight's agenda. So if anybody has anything that they would like to speak about.
Mr. Peterson has a
Mr. Peterson?
Yes, sir. I've been in the area since about 75. I live between Sierra College, the lake, and the north side of Douglas. I've been in the area for years. We have problems. The last big fire we had started in the freeway, Sierra College, and ended up at Catawba. We had planes flying over us. Since the fire in Los Angeles shut down all electricity and fire hydrants. Wouldn't know if we in our area is going to have the same type of problem if we have a fire here. And the other thing that I wanted to discuss is a lot of us here between Sierra College and the lake have swimming pools. Is there a water source so we can? I have a water sprayer. It's about 2.5 gallons a minute, 3,000 pounds of pressure. Is there a water source that we can supply water to our water pumps? That way, when numbers fly over, we can get them. Because we had a lot of members flying over and from Canada Salmon area into almost across Douglas. This is what I have to say. That's all.
Well, thank you. We can't engage on things that brought up in this portion of the public comment, but if you'd like to reach out to the chief as far as water supply and stuff like that we have in the area,
Okay.
I'm sure he'd be more than happy to talk to you or direct you to fire prevention, and they can assist you with that.
Okay. I gave you your lady there my business card, name, address, phone number.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on public comment?
Yes, sir. My name is Tim Monroe. I'm with the closest fire safe council that we have to South Lansing. We're out of Auburn, but we also cover Penryn, Newcastle, part of Loomis, and up to Bowman. So we've been coming down here for the last few weeks to respond to inquiries about communities forming Firewise communities, outreach events on education. So we wanted to kind of get to know the board and get to know the chiefs, and you guys are the experts in the area. As we start to move down into this area, we're going to be looking for people to join our council from this area that know the area. So we're here and just trying to get to know you all. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out for our meeting. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Anybody have anything they want to approve from the consent agenda or any questions regarding it? Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Okay. Moving on to Old business, South Placer Fire District policy updates.
So for you, you have policies that you saw at the last meeting, the 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 were there at the last meeting, and we also have brought back the EMS policies as requested. There was a question on why we have policies that maybe were duplicative of our EMS agency's policies. That's because they're more stringent. So one of them, for example, is we talked about refusal of care. SSV has a policy that talks about refusal. Ours defines what that is, what the expectation is, and puts an extra layer on there that's specific to the district on what we're looking for.
I don't know, am I allowed to ask a question to this? Procedurally,
Let him finish talking about
Okay.
all of his stuff and then we'll.
So for both of those, they take what SSV has a baseline, and then we built on that to provide more protections for our employees and for the district as a whole. Again, these are the second reading and approval. With that, I'll turn it over to the floor.
my only concern on the policy that you're talking about for refusal of treatment, SSV does have a baseline protocol that all of your EMTs and paramedics have to follow. By putting more stringent guidelines on that policy, if I were the patient, I would consider that badgering almost to a point. And I think that knowing what I know, if I was to call 911 and you came to my house and I told you, hey, you know what, I've changed my mind, I'm good, and your folks kept badgering me, I'd tell them kindly to leave, right? So I don't know that, I think that the SSV policy covers liability for the department. I just am not sure that really, is it appropriate to make it more stringent for your employees? And is that putting them at liability when they take it a step further than SSV? Because SSV is the guide for your EMS responses. I just have a little concern about creating your own liability by putting more on it than what SSV is required.
So,
And I heard, I mean, we talked about it last time, right? And we had an incident in the district and it scared everybody, you know, from a legal standpoint, but legally, if I remember correctly, nothing came out of it. It just gave you guys a scare and something to be aware of. But I think if they follow that policy, there's no reason to put policy on top of policy.
much like OSHA, it's a minimum, right?
Yeah.
And then we can add extra to it. So the specifics are that from the district's perspective or from my perspective are, hey, yeah, and I forget the exact terminology that SSV uses for requiring that, and maybe Chief Magnuson can help me out, but it's like, hey, it doesn't define a patient. It doesn't define specifically when. There's a lot of gray area. And so what we'd like to see is it tightened up and call out the specifics of when we'd like you to do those actions.
Okay, and so I'll put it to bed here for you. I'm not gonna argue it anymore. I just want the point to be made that it concerns me a little that you're putting policy on policy, and, you know, I'll go with it. But it's concerning to me, and I'll leave it at that.
Right.
You guys heard my point, and you guys even, you know, told me the story, so I'm good.
Policy is above and beyond SSV's policy.
Chief Magnuson,
I didn't hear the question.
what
is
is
the
above
policy?
and beyond the SSV policy?
The definition of what a patient is and when it is, basically, this comes out of, and it's not refusals, it's patient documentation, and when do we do a PCR versus not. If we go to a person and they have a complaint and we don't do a PCR, and that is where the gray area was with SSV, it was, well, are they a patient or are they not a patient? And they didn't want to define it, and so we define it. And, you know, if somebody calls 911 and they have a complaint, they're a patient. If somebody calls 911 on their behalf, they're a patient. At least the minimum documentation of we came, we saw, and they didn't want anything, so we left. And we don't make them do a refusal if they don't have a complaint. We don't badger them. We come there, if they have a complaint, we offer them transportation. They refuse, we say, well, these are the things that could happen, and they continue to refuse. They sign and we leave.
And I'm good with that.
That's basically what it came down to. And again, like I mentioned last month, yeah, we haven't had the problem because now the problem's been fixed because of the documentation that we're requiring.
I'm good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on any of the other policies?
Actually, are we at,
Or
1021?
all the policies that
We're not
are
there yet, all right.
from,
Yeah, we can talk about 1021.
Yeah.
It's
oh, yeah.
all those
So-
ones are up there.
I just had a concern and I'll have to just throw myself under the bus here. I didn't have a lot of time to go through this, but the immunizations for the employees, influenza and COVID, they have the opportunity to not take those, correct? They're not mandatory?
Correct.
Okay, that was my concern. I just didn't, wanted to make sure that I clarified that point. Thank you.
I didn't think we were mandatory.
Any other questions or comments on any of the other policies from the second reading? Any comments from the public? Okay. So we need a motion to.
All motion
I'll second
to
it.
approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Next, we have the apprentice firefighter contract.
So this is coming back before you. A few months back, we discussed this program of finding a way to help incentivize and assist our apprentice employees in finding full-time employment, hopefully with the district. One of those avenues is to create a process where they can go to paramedic school in the district and help in that process. Those employees are minimum wage employees working for 2 years to get experience to be able to become full-time firefighters, hopefully in the organization. Your questions were make sure the contract was good and discuss some other opportunities for how we're going to structure the payment. After speaking with the attorneys, we landed on this $5,000 allowance, which will cover, I believe, both of the community colleges that are offering that. If you want to go someplace else, the district will fund up to $5,000. The process is we'll give you $2,500 when you're accepted into a program. We'll give you $2,500 when you come back to us with a completion certificate. So it's about a 2-year deal. So they'll get $2,500 in the first year, $2,500 in the second year. We won't focus on cost recovery really at that point. It's to benefit them and they go through the process as part of their apprenticeship. With that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Comments or questions from the board?
So there was no hook at the end? No promise that you'll stay for 2 years?
They're apprentices, so it's typically a 2-year limited term program anyway. If they were full-time employees, we most certainly would have that opportunity to do that. But as an apprentice, it's more of adding it into if you looked at the big picture, it would bump their wages by about $1 an hour in their 2-year term.
Well, they're working for minimum wage for 2 years.
Correct.
With not many rights.
Correct.
So hopefully we can grab some of those that finish paramedic school. So I get the point. That was my only question.
Yes.
Any other comments from the board? Any public comment on this?
But here that we approved the firefighter contract, apprentice contract.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Grievance, Brian Linder.
Board tasked staff and labor to amend the grievance process about 8 months ago.
8 months ago.
What was asked from the board was to include this process in there where if an employee would like to bring something directly to the board and not go to the mediation. So basically insert a half step between step 3 and step 4. So it's gone to, the first change is to step 1 changes to taking it to the deputy chief, to the person that is most responsible for the grievance. That was the first change. The second change is now you go to the person that is most responsible, then it goes to the deputy chief in a formal letter, then it goes to the chief. Now, between the chief and taking it to mediation, we've essentially created a middle step there that an employee can petition the board to say, hey, we'd like you to hear this grievance as the board. Now, if the board has the option to either hear it or not hear it, and if the board decides to hear it, that's a final and binding step. So they don't get two bites at the apple. So they bring it to you, you agree to hear it as the board. Once that's done, they don't have the option then to go back to mediation. Your decision is final. And so we've met at length with labor on this, and we've come up with language that we all agree on. This went through the personnel committee and labor, and I believe we've delivered on what the board has asked. It's now for you to decide on whether you're going to adopt it.
So basically, the way that the current grievance procedure works is it goes directly to the operations chief or deputy chief. Then it goes to a written form to the deputy chief. Then it goes to the chief. Then it goes to mediation. That comes to us for final and binding after mediation. What we did was get it to where if, say the issue is with something that a battalion chief did, that individual can go to their battalion chief and go, hey, I don't agree with this. This is why, this is the MOU. And they have a chance to fix it right then before it goes any further. The first formal portion is the written to the operations chief, or in our case, the deputy chief. The final portion, like the chief was saying, is to basically gives the union and the members the opportunity to go, you know what? I don't think this warrants going to mediation. I would like to go to the board, understanding that that is binding if they come to the board and we decide to act on it. But even if say Pat has a grievance that's out there and he's like, we don't want to do mediation because we don't think it needs to go to mediation. They come to us and about bypassing mediation. If the board goes, no, we want mediation to look at this beforehand, then it goes to mediation. If they come to us and say, we don't want to do mediation, we think we will take whatever the board gives us, and the board agrees to that, the board hears the subject matter and makes a final decision on it. So the board can't pull it through mediation without a request from the union, but the union can't push it through mediation, bypass mediation without approval of the board. Does that make sense? It's cost savings if there are some small issues and stuff that come through that we don't have to do mediation, which can become costly with attorneys and mediators and such.
I think one of the biggest points for me is that it takes it back to the lowest level. And it starts at the supervisor that has the employee, the member that has the issue with the supervisor. It should always start there. And that's what this does. And then it starts to climb. And then, like you said, if they feel that they can live with the board's decision, then it does save money on the mediation side. So I think it's good language, and I appreciate it.
Any other board questions or comments?
Yeah, I have, well, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I have two. First of all, if they do come to the board midstream and we make a decision, is that final? Or is there a recourse?
So they have to go through steps 1, 2, and 3 before it can come to you.
Correct.
And then once it comes to you, you get to decide whether or not you want to hear it. And if you do hear it, it is final and binding.
Okay. And then the second question is that I do have a little bit of a concern that it may usurp the normal chain of command as far as getting the board involved a little bit early. So maybe you can tell me why that's not the case.
The board's involved after the fire chief.
They have to go through the steps before it gets to us.
The only step that it bypasses is the step of mediation.
Mediation. Okay. I'm done.
Janine?
So if the board refuses to hear it, then they can go back to me.
They can go back and they
It
can
doesn't-
continue with mediation at that point.
Okay, and then I just want to make sure I understand this language. The person most responsible would be the alleged offending party,
Okay.
not
It could be
necessarily a direct supervisor.
Right.
Okay,
And that was to encompass a broader term. If you put, it may not be a supervisor.
right.
So we're trying to say, hey, the person that's causing this issue, go talk to them, have that discussion. And then if you can't find resolution there, let's start floating it up the chain of command.
Which is pretty normal. That's pretty much the informal grievance process. And then the formal starts with the written grievance.
Yeah, but I'm used to where it goes right up a chain of command and not necessarily over over this way, if you will. I'm trying to think of an.
So it goes to
example.
the person that's causing the grievance, could be coworker, could be a captain, first line supervisor. Then it'll go to the deputy chief of operations. Then it comes to me. Then it either goes to mediation.
Grievances are dealing with MOU and policy, so it's normally gonna go, it'll normally be a captain or a battalion chief that initial conversation will happen with, because those are where the grievance usually ends up coming from.
So let's say it's a coworker. Can that person say, no, I don't want to talk about it? I'm thinking of a harassment issue where, somebody's taking
Harassment's a little
action.
bit different.
There's laws around
Yeah.
harassment
Okay,
and
okay,
reporting.
so that wouldn't apply to
Reporting.
Yeah,
this.
this
Okay.
falls into articles within the contract and standard operating
Okay,
procedure.
got it.
Working conditions.
Working
Okay.
conditions. So that's what, harassment would go
Okay,
completely down another way to human resources and back up through the chain that way.
Okay.
And
And legally
okay,
with,
if it just, that answers my question that it pertains
Yeah.
to,
and legally with sexual harassment, you can go outside of the department. You have a right to go outside of the department to Fair Labor and Housing, I think it is.
yeah.
And then it's taken out of the department's hands completely, so. Processes.
any other questions or comments for the board? For public comment?
If it comes to the board, would that be a closed session since it's a personnel matter?
It depends on what the material is.
I just thought it would be better to keep it in-house and bring it to the
Yeah.
board closed session.
I imagine, depending on what it is, if it's a personnel matter, yes. If it's a,
Scheduling issue.
maybe not.
You have a typo.
I
Second line, second point, medication, it should be mediation.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting?
Maybe he was medicated.
Spell check your spell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just to clarify from labor standpoint, all the grievances that I've been a part of or that I've seen happen since I've been here, they don't deal too much with differences between people on the line. They almost always deal with an alleged MOU violation or an alleged policy violation. So it's rarely some kind of personnel matter that I found. It's usually a difference of opinion about the expression or the enforcement of the MOU or district policy. So it's not really between members typically. Typically just operation, the department-wide application of a MOU section or a policy. So just to clarify it from our perspective. It's a good thing from labor's perspective, this change.
Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, is it state that it's a majority vote? I mean, so it's not unanimous that decides
From the board?
from the board.
To,
Is there anything in writing that states what the vote needs to be for the,
It would just follow whatever the current grievance language is in the existing MOU. So we didn't change anything past once it comes to the board. So essentially, whatever the language
referring
is,
to when it comes to the board to see if the board wants to hear it rather than get to go to mediation. I think it would fall under the same ruling.
to hear it, I think it would be just the majority.
quorum.
And then to any action on it, I think still a quorum. I don't think it's a unanimous vote on anything in there. But I'd have to go back and I don't have that section of the MOU memorized. I'd have to go over.
okay, I was seeing if you knew, okay.
Any questions or comments?
No, I'll just approve it, except for the spell check.
Well, that's just on the
That's just on the
slide.
PowerPoint.
It's not in the document.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Fire impact fee program 2025 annual adjustment.
So in 2018, the fire board adopted a resolution for a fire fee program. Each year, you may adopt the increase in the fee based on the percentage change in the San Francisco Engineering Cost Index. In 2024, the change was 0.2%, which doesn't change the fees charged, but we must publish and adopt a resolution that we then have to send to the county and the town for their adoption. When we did this previously, There was some language in there that caused some confusion. The county executive's office has reached out to us and we've had a discussion, so we're going back and cleaning some things up. So you're going to readopt the resolution. We've accurately and adequately posted it this time. And so by doing this, we'll then send it off to the county and the town for adoption and clear up the issue at hand.
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
On the agenda, you have it as the 2025, and on the document page, it's 2024.
It should be the 2024.
Okay.
My pardon for the inconsistency.
Any comments or questions by the board on that?
I just had one question, and I'm sure there's a great answer for it. Why are we using the cost index from the city of San Francisco when the cost of business in San Francisco is double or triple?
I don't think there's
Is it
another,
standard?
there's not another.
There's nothing that says
That is the
Sacramento
standard.
or Placer County?
Correct.
Okay,
That's,
so that's,
yeah, that's.
and I tried to click on the link to do the homework, but the link wouldn't work for me, so. Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions or comments by the board? Any public comments? Okay.
We need a motion on the resolution.
I'll approve the fire impact fee for, this is 2025, 2024, and no adjustment.
We get a second?
Second.
We get a roll call?
Dr. Randall, Navigo.
Aye.
Dr. Gibson.
Aye.
Dr. Windishausen.
Aye.
Dr. Flanagan.
Aye.
Director Davis.
Aye.
And Director Gallegos.
Aye.
Yes.
Municipal service review.
All right, the LAFCO has published the MSR draft and it's open for public comment for 45 days. I believe their next meeting is March 12th, somewhere right around there. We're looking for direction on if you would like to make public comment on this draft, and if you would, what would you like that public comment to be? I will now turn it over to you for discussion.
From the board?
So do you want individual comments or do you want a comment from the board as a whole?
So you operate as a board, so you all have to comment
Agree on
as a
the
board.
comments? So then my question would be, do we want to comment on it? And if we do, when do we submit our comments and, you know, how do you want to proceed with that as a board?
I would say that if we can come to a consensus on things that we feel should be commented on, that we do that, give it to the chief, and then have him draft it to send it to the LAFCO. Some of the things that I see, one, there's numerous things within this MSR that have changed since the beginning of this MSR, because we've been going through so many changes here in the district. After going to the LAFCO meeting right before our last meeting, one of the things that was brought up by the commission was in regards to the city of Roseville is how fast they needed to act on their MSR because of that fact, because of the changes that have been happening within the city. And if they continued to put it off, they would just get further and further away from what the document itself said. I believe we are already there as far as this document goes. It's a picture or a snapshot in time. And it's accurate to that time, but it's not accurate to today. There are things in the MSR that deal with mergers, consolidations, and ideas, both between our districts and neighboring districts, and also with Placer Hills and some of the districts that neighbor us. The one thing that I think would be a good comment to put forward is, much like the city of Roseville, ours has been an ever-changing world for the last few years while this process has been going on. And that we urge LAFCO as they go forward after this MSR, looking at any mergers or consolidations, to take that into account and look at all different aspects, financing with a fine-tooth comb as we move forward. Placer Hills is currently supplying administrative resources to Penryn and Newcastle. I know I lived through a portion of that in this district back in the early nineties when they tried to do a consolidation with Placer Consolidated and have a huge gap between Loomis, Penryn, Newcastle, and everybody else up the road. Doesn't really make sense to me, but I think everybody should have a seat at the table when something like that comes down to see what makes the most sense for fire service within Western Placer.
I don't want to get into all my grievances with the MSR. I think that we should probably document those and submit them as a group or something, because I mean, we can be here all night. But I will say that in my opinion, in my 30 some odd years in the fire service, it had an agenda, and non-contiguous fire protection up and down the 80 corridor, I think is foolish. The way I read it, no matter what they planned on doing, it didn't solve the staffing issues. It shifted responsibilities with the same financial issues. It didn't solve any financial issues. In my opinion, there's no reason for any district, including this one, to get involved with another district that can't pay its own bills. And so for me, I have a lot of heartburn with that MSR. And so, and I truly believe that it was trying to be polite here. I think it had an agenda that doesn't serve the county and the citizens in the county well enough to support it.
One of the things that's significant for me, I'm going to read from page 18, and this is where it's talking about the county, and it says, speak up.
Yeah.
So this is a significant concern for me. I'm going to read from page 18 briefly. It talks about the county, the lack of transparency, and the convoluted funding structure of the Placer County Fire Department services, whatever it should be. Has led to mistrust and lack of credibility. AP Triton heard many comments about the inequity built into the fire protection funding in Placer County. For these reasons, Triton recommends Placer County Fire Department consider the following actions, or not, a consistent share of property taxes. Tax revenue should be allocated to all territory within Placer County Fire Service area. Placer County subsidizes to the tune of millions and millions of dollars every year fire service in North Auburn in particular. And while those of us in other areas pay significant additional assessments on our property taxes, and I think this is something that we should address and call out, that we think that equity should be provided, and I think there's ways to do it. I'm interested in what you have to say. I'm wondering if we, in short order, need a workshop on this, in order to at least bullet point.
That's kind of what I was
gonna write.
We could spend all night talking about it, and I don't think it's really appropriate, especially for the folks that are here. But I think there's a lot of issues with that MSR that need to be daylighted to us as a board. And maybe we're all thinking part of the same thing, or maybe one of us hasn't thought about something the other one saw, and we could put them all down and have a consolidated message. Because it's, to me, it's a mess. It's
This funding issue needs to be addressed, and there needs to be equity. The county general fund, which means all the taxpayers in Placer County are paying for some fire service, subsidizing fire service in North Auburn, Ophir, and Tahoe Trucking.
So is that coming out of the Prop 170?
No, this is coming out of general fund.
Coming out of general.
General fund money.
Is that including the casino too?
Pardon me?
Is that including the casino too?
no, the casino pays for itself.
Well, they pay for itself,
They
and then
pay
the
the-
casino
they-
pays what's called an in lieu of property tax, because they're exempt, but they have an agreement to pay an amount that is on par with property taxes to the county,
Got it.
that goes to the county's general fund. So,
They are self-sufficient.
but yes, they do. They built a fire station, they pay for equipment equipment out there. So
They pay for the staffing.
the casino is not an area that's subsidized. The casino pays their fair share.
Correct.
And then how about Bickford?
So Bickford is a dead issue. That belongs to the county. That does not belong to Penryn, right?
Right,
And so,
It used to be Penrose.
that's
No.
right.
but the county took it, so the county owns that, right? So you're not gonna take that away from the county.
Well, it's not about taking it away. I would say there's an equity issue of where that money comes from to support that.
Yeah.
Fire
Yes.
service.
So that fire service belongs to Placer.
Yes,
I-
because that's
I know you're gonna correct me, but Placer County Fire gets that.
They
tax.
provide the service,
They
but
provide the service.
Placer County Fire doesn't. There's a fire fund, and from the fire fund,
But
they
they are,
allocate money different ways and places. But that, you bring up actually another issue, and that is how services decided. So they took Bickford out of Penryn. If Bickford was still in Penryn, all of that new assessed value from that development would benefit a financially struggling, otherwise financially struggling district. And
but that's
it told
Penryn's
the
issue to
developer
fight.
to go shop
That's-
for fire
We
service.
take turns talking. Yeah, that's Penryn's issue to fight, not South Placer Fire District.
talk. Go ahead.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that the county has a hand in dividing these things up. And that's an issue because it's Penryn today, it could be us tomorrow. That's what I'm saying. The county is, my experience is that I'd like to see from the county some clear policies on fire service and how how fire service is provided and funding, what their policies are. And I think that this is an opportunity to address some of that. Because to arbitrarily take Penryn, to arbitrarily decide that the reason that the county provides fire service in North Auburn, there was a fire district there, an independent district. It was the first district in the county to collapse financially. And, you know, we can talk about that at some point too, why there is this structural imbalance in fire districts. But it was the first to collapse, and the county decided to take that over. So it didn't have, the district had insufficient revenue to pay firefighters at local wages. The county took it over and decided to provide fire service at CAL FIRE compensation levels and upgraded it to
It is not,
advanced.
it is not ALS.
I just read that recently in the contract.
It is not.
That's good, because people wouldn't have an incentive to do anything like that.
When is the 45-day period up?
early March. I'm finding out right now if we can provide comments, March 7th. My recommendation, we have a meeting coming up with outside agencies. And then my thought is if March 4th, which is a Tuesday, works for everybody, that might be a great time to get together and have this workshop. That's, fits your calendars. Tuesday, March 4th, 6 o'clock, 5:30, 5 o'clock.
6 PM would be good.
I'm free. I'm free.
What was the date again? Sorry.
March 4th.
That works for me.
Would that be the entire board?
Yes.
Public meeting?
Yeah, we'll notice it and have a workshop, open board meeting to discuss.
Special meeting workshop.
Good deal.
So it sounds like I have a quorum that can be there. Send that out as a. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Chief said 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Mark, what day is March 4th?
It's a Tuesday. It's my new favorite day of the week.
Any comments from the public regarding the MSR? Or would you like to save it for the workshop on the?
That's great. I will be here.
Fantastic. We will move that into a workshop on March 4th at 6 PM.
New business, ordinance for fees and change for certain emergency medical services amended.
So, yeah, yes.
Just one thing on that last item.
Yes.
I want to make sure that it's noticed that we, not just as a workshop, but that we will take action to submit our comments. We don't notice it as an action item, we can't do something.
Very good.
Thank you.
Appreciate
All right, in 2024, the board asked to place a floor for the EMS service fees resolution. That resolution establishes that the amended resolution now establishes a baseline to maintain fiscal stability in the delivery of EMS services. Essentially, we put a floor on it so we can't go down. Staff is recommending the adoption of this resolution that the board at the time asked for. Any questions or comments?
Does this tie into page 87 with the actual fees that are being charged?
Those fees will be done again in April, May,
Okay.
is when we look at them,
So we can comment as a board on them?
on the fees that we're charging.
Yeah, that are in this resolution?
Well, I
Appropriate
think
at this time?
the resolution is dated in 1920. So
1920?
2019, 2020.
Okay.
So that's when these fees
Right.
were done.
So I
They've
just had a couple questions about the fees.
been updated regularly since, so these aren't the current fees.
Okay, it doesn't change my questions, but.
Well, so what I will say is a fee adoption will come up in April that would probably be better discussed, but if you would.
I just had some clarifying questions.
Sure.
Because I haven't been on the board since this has happened and they've been updated.
Well, and so to make clear, we're not updating the fees today.
Correct. I just had some clarifying questions about how the fees are being charged.
Okay.
So when they're being charged.
Okay.
So if I call 911 and the engine shows up to my house and I decide to refuse treatment, am I still being charged the $288?
If we do an ALS assessment and treatment,
So treatment, an ALS assessment and a treatment are different. Do I get one for an ALS assessment or do I get one for a treatment?
definitely get one for treatment and ALS assessment. 9 times out of 10, yes, you're gonna get one.
Okay. And if I refuse service, do I still get one?
If you refer service and we do an ALS assessment, you will get one. Yes.
Okay. So I'm just concerned because I know somebody personally who fainted. Somebody that was not related to her called 911. The district showed up. They asked her a few questions. She said, I don't need anything. I don't want any treatment. They left and she was billed. And the problem I have with that was she didn't call 911 and nobody that was with her called 911. Somebody else did. She refused treatment and then got charged. To me, that's not okay. And so to me, I think that I really struggle with this fee for service because we do pay taxes here and we do pay assessments.
It's your taxes and assessments cover everything that we're required to do.
Everything
under
not
the-
coming to your house.
Under the 1987 Fire Protection District Act, we're required to provide fire protection services.
Okay.
Nowhere in there are we required to provide EMS. Now, we do that happily and have done so since 1962. That costs money.
It does.
So understand that when we go to a CPR call, we don't bill for that call. There's no transport, there's nobody to bill, et cetera, but we burn through hundreds, if not thousands of dollars of equipment to provide that service.
But that's why you bill the insurance.
We can't bill the insurance on a CPR call or a, if they,
So I'm a Kaiser patient and I have a cardiac event.
look, if you go into cardiac arrest and we do not revive you, there's no one to bill. We eat all of those costs from personnel, fuel, disposable equipment, the whole 9 yards. There's nobody to bill for that.
If you don't transport me. If you
If you-
transport
if
me,
you- If you do not survive the call, and I'm just using this as an example.
no,
We eat the cost of that entire call, right? So what this does is essentially, I know you're gonna disagree and don't like the process, it spreads the cost of our services across our entire call volume. And so in order to make, now, if we stop charging fees for services for first responder fees and adjusted these fees, we are already at a place of keeping our eyes above water. You're gonna drive us further down the path of not being able to be fiscally sustainable.
so, and I hear what you're saying, I truly do. And I understand the cost of doing business, right? My concern is that when people get billed, when they've refused treatment, somebody doesn't call, they don't call 911, someone does on their behalf, and they still get billed.
What I would say to you is have them call us. We have a very liberal cancellation policy. That if they call up and provide us with, hey, this is what happened and here's the events, et cetera. We take every call like that under consideration and make decisions based on
Okay.
what is most appropriate for the call.
My other concern is that the older folks in our community, when they get that bill, it is going to preclude them or going to make them think twice about calling the fire department when they need them. And I've lived here my whole life, and I didn't realize we were doing pay for service until this happened to somebody that I know very well. And I was like, holy, you know what? That's not right. So I want to make sure that if I'm asked as a board member or a director, that I can explain to people why that happens and the grievance process for these fees if you don't think that you should have to pay them.
So I would say, if you want a great education, talk to Chief Magnuson. He'll line you out on the whole thing. Or we can do a presentation at a future board meeting. Maybe when we do the actual changing the fees, that'd be a great time to have that discussion about what the process is and how the.
Well, I just am concerned that the public has no idea. And unless they call 911, they have no idea they're being charged.
Some do because I get them every day. Questions about the bills. So
But I
there's a
mean,
method.
but
If
if-
they ask and they look, they'll find it.
But if they've never called 911, how would they even know that the fire department? Because I know that it's becoming more popular, and I know that there are a lot of departments that have started doing it. Roseville does it. But if you've never called 911, then how would you even know that there's a pay for service system? And so it's very concerning for me that the public is going to look very negatively upon the fire service for charging them to show up to their house, because they are under the impression that they pay taxes and that when they call 911, someone's coming and they're not going to charge them. So that's just my concern. I don't want to belabor whether or not it's right or wrong. It's not my point here. I think that people are gonna be pretty upset when they.
So I will say, to your point, we have an open board meeting where this is discussed.
I knew this was coming.
Adopted,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah, no,
right, the public is only as educated as they want to find themselves to
they
be.
want to be. What about putting it out?
It goes out in the paper, it's noticed, it's published. I
Paper,
mean,
what paper? We have a paper here?
yes, we do.
The Press Tribune still?
Yes, the Press Tribune, the Lewis News, and the Placer Herald.
Does
So,
anybody subscribe anymore?
Yeah.
see, the same people that show up to our meetings.
Yeah. But no, I was concerned about the being charged if, and you gave me the answer I'm looking for. You guys have a grievance process,
Yes, we
right?
do.
Which I figured you did. But where would I, as a board member, find out about that other than board meetings?
Where,
So if I wanted to go look at your policy, I guess I would go into your policy manual somewhere.
The website has our fee schedule on it and it's published every year. LIMSA has our fee schedule and it's required by AB 1716, which we
Okay.
publish every year. Look at our website.
What I'll
make
do
phone
is
call,
I'll look
come
it
to
up
board
on the
meetings.
website and I will point people to the website when they ask.
And if you find it lacking, let us know and we'll update the website to include more information. I think there's even an FAQ on there that talks specifically about this process.
All right, perfect.
Chris?
Pete, what's the difference between, I live in Loomis and I'm not gonna get South Placer for medical aid. I'm gonna get AMR. So what's the difference? If the same thing happens with AMR?
Because we don't pay taxes to AMR.
You're gonna get a bill though.
It's a
I
private,
promise you.
it's a private entity. Right? But when AMR transports me, then my insurance pays for that. And they each,
Unless you're dead.
well, unless you're dead, they don't transport dead bodies.
There's still a
corner,
fee, there's
then
still
the
a fee.
corner comes and gets me, right?
But you still have a fee that you have to, Loomis
But
does.
I don't pay taxes to AMR. But if AMR has my service area, then they're gonna charge me appropriately as a private entity does. This is a public entity that collects tax dollars.
And I think that's maybe part of the misnomer is, right? Again, going back to the Fire Protection District Act of 1987, we're required by law and why we collect taxes is for fire protection. EMS is an add-on services that has, it doesn't fall under the same requirements. And that's why we bill. That's why we bill for transport. That's why we have first responder fees, because that's excess service that we're providing that we believe is a value add, right?
Yeah.
But it costs money.
Any other comments from the board? Any public comment?
To your comment, as an older adult advocate and a senior assembly member, we discuss these in our meetings. We just talk about it, and a large percentage of older adults know to call the fire department and discuss this fee. If they're on a low income, they know there's places to reach out because they go to meetings, because they check. So, sorry, I've dealt with this for 5 years.
What are you sorry for?
That you
We're in
don't
public
understand.
Oh, I understand.
Pete, we're in public comment right now.
Oh, sorry.
This is
I
not,
forgot.
this is
Hey,
not,
Gary, I got it.
so, any other public?
We'll
comment?
see.
Close the public comment. Any other further board comments or questions?
We need adoption of the resolution.
So we need adoption of the resolution to establish a
Baseline.
A motion to adopt. I second it.
roll call.
Absolutely. Director Randall, how do you vote?
Aye.
Director Gibson?
Aye.
Director Winhouse?
Aye.
Director Flanagan?
Aye.
Director Bedos?
Aye.
And Director Gallegos?
Aye.
That passes. You.
LAFCO election process.
So LAFCO, Local Agency Formation Commission, if I got it right, composed of various members from the cities, the county, special districts, and the public. They have an open board seat for special district. At this point in time, we have the opportunity to, if any of you are interested, to take a seat on that board. We would nominate you. That will go to LAFCO, and then all of the nominations from all the special districts will come back to us for an election in a month or two. At which point, then we get to vote on any of those members that are on there. And then we'll seat a special district member on LAFCO. For that, I'll turn it over for any discussion for the board.
Questions or comments? Anybody interested in running for LAFCO? No, I am not. Things going on there.
I think it'd be a great opportunity for the fire district to get something on there.
Maybe you can run. Yeah,
There you go.
I volunteered for 2 other committees. Do you want to take 1 or 2 of those from me? I'll trade you.
Sure.
For LAFCO?
I don't think I can sit on LAFCO.
Yeah, I
think I
think
can whatever you want.
I'm committed enough with 2 others.
It's just 1 meeting a month.
That's what they
If you
said.
want to take LAFCO, then you can become an alternate on the other one that I'm the alternate on, if you'd like to do that.
And which one are you the alternate on?
The Western Placer group. Yes.
I just gotta look at how much homework there is with LAFCO.
I'm sorry, I lost my train. Every district isn't expected to submit,
No,
right? There will be districts who there's
Yes.
somebody.
And typically, in all fairness, let's say Pete decides to run, we're gonna submit a name. The fire districts have a very small population of the special districts in the county. Most of the time, it's either a water or a sewer agency, typically a water agency, that ends up getting the vote because they have such a large group of people. Yes. ma'am.
Well, the water agency, I think, already has, there is somebody from.
Yeah, but I don't know if that precludes them, like, PCWA has
Two.
one, but they may have a Truckee or somebody up the hill might
Yeah.
get one of the spots
Okay.
too. I just, historically, the fire districts aren't readily represented on there, but I think with everything going on, it might be a good opportunity.
And then my second question is that we as a board get a vote. So in other words, they'll send us the slate and then we'll say, this is who our vote.
We like
goes
Pete
to.
Gallegos
That
as our
work?
vote, yep,
Okay.
and you vote for Pete,
Okay.
and
I
then
was
Pete
just
goes
curious
off and
about
is
the
serving
process.
on LAFCO.
How much time do I have, Tracy, to think about it? Could I think about it overnight and I'll trade you?
You got 10 minutes.
How long is the commitment for?
2 years? Didn't it say 3?
Bear with me.
So I think it said you had to be a board member.
It's May 2026.
So if let's see, when's my term up?
May of 26.
December of 26 is when your term on the board.
See, you're right there.
Pete, your term on
He
the
said
board
yes,
is
I
December of 26.
He said, I guess.
I did not say that.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
We'll roll back the video.
So Tracy, and those meetings are typically in Auburn?
Yes, they're at the, Domes.
4:00 in the afternoon.
Look at all you looking at me.
Like a butcher looking at a pork chop. Let's go.
Kind of like Mikey.
All right, I'll put my name in if you take my spot and I become the alternate. I just don't want to.
And if something happens and God forbid you're not elected to the position and you want to step back and work together as the primary, that's fine too.
Okay, all right, you got me.
I don't want you giving up
As long
something.
as long as if I get elected, Tracy takes my spot on the other committee and I'll be the alternate for Tracy.
Round of applause for Pete.
Any other board comment?
Hallelujah.
Do we have to do a vote on?
Yeah, we will. Any public comments? You guys like Pete too? Good job. Okay. Motion to put forth Pete Gallegos for LAFCO representative.
I motion that we put Pete Gallegos as in the LAFCO election process. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
That was quick and you had a smile on your face.
Any roll call on this or just?
No.
No? Okay. All in favor? Pete, you didn't say aye. That's a problem, Pete.
I can't vote for myself, can I?
Sure. Sure you can.
Okay, I'll say aye.
They move. A resolution to, I'm just glad that we're getting some laughs in here. This is nice for a change.
Not so tense.
A resolution to adopt non-safety, unrepresented, and safety management agreements.
So, recent review by CalPERS found issues with the structure of our reportable compensation for unrepresented members. The district currently has separate employment agreements with all unrepresented members, but this doesn't comply with Government Code 2636, California Code of Regulations 571. To rectify the situation, ensure all members are compensated for their contracts, the board must take legislative action of the elected board to establish classes of employees. The attached resolution establishes 2 classes, sworn and non-sworn unrepresented classes, thereby correcting the CalPERS reporting issue. Essentially what's happening is none of the unrepresented members' special compensation is being calculated because there's individual contracts for each member. Now, mind you, we have had numerous employees retire under these exact same contracts, and for some reason this year, they pulled a whatever. And so we believe that the way to correct this and what they've directed us to do is have you all adopt these 2 resolutions. that should create classes and fix the issue. Send it to the board for discussion.
Questions or comments from the board?
In the second whereas on both, it says, whereas the board wishes to adopt a labor policy / agreement. These are non-representative. This really wasn't negotiated with them. I would strike
They
agreement.
were negotiated at the time of the contracts and the late,
Individual,
yes, correct.
but these have like, blanket provisions. In other words, this wasn't like negotiated with labor organization. They have, their individual contracts still stand,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
So this to me is a board policy. And that's the way I also read the government code.
So you're saying strike labor and put board?
No. Let me go back there. Just strike the word agreement. The board wishes to adopt a labor policy.
Okay.
In accordance. This is a,
Okay. It went through legal, but
okay,
I'll have them review it and ask that question.
okay. I don't know. To me, it's not an agreement. An agreement takes two parties to agree.
Okay.
And the way that I read the law also, it says labor policy or agreement.
Okay.
As any written policy, agreement, memorandum of understanding, legislative action of the elected or appointed body governing the employer.
So do we table that until the wording's resolved?
Can we adopt it as a?
You can adopt it as edited.
So
But they're gonna have a legal look at it.
we have agreements with each one of those. Are we just basically coming up with, here's a group and these are all the agreements underneath that group?
And all, here's the rub. They're all exactly the same.
With the exception of
No,
their pay.
well, yeah, but the salary schedule
Yeah,
is
the salary
it's
schedule is salary
no different than labor, right? Firefighter, engineer, captain, et cetera. Every other condition is the same as each other's, as it is the same as mostly as labor's. Education incentive is the same, paramedic compensation is the same. Go ahead.
So if you have a labor agreement with a paramedic, it's going to say paramedic. It's not going to have, like this one has.
Paramedic is a special compensation.
Yeah, it's probably not the best example. I'm trying to. This has the whole salary schedule for the admin assistant, business manager, the apprentice. You wouldn't have that in individual. You would list all of those.
Right, but we can't have individual classes under first. It's versus.
Right. So this takes care of that
Yes,
by policy.
by policy. By labor policy, yes.
Not agreement.
There's mine. Yes. This
No,
has thrown me for a loop for the past 8 weeks.
Yeah,
There's a difference between an agreement and policy.
Okay.
And,
I'm good with saying something along the lines of adopt a resolution, and correct me if we need clarification, but adopt the policy as written or as amended pending legal review.
Yeah.
That sounds fair.
our legal review comes back and says, no, this has
as
to
long
be
as
there.
it, as
So
long as
bring it back.
Bring it back. I know that.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Hold on a second.
Oh, sorry.
Any public comment?
Okay.
You done with board comments and questions? Go ahead,
Make
Steve.
a resolution to adopt, all right, I make a motion. Jeez, I have not been drinking. I make a motion to adopt the resolution with the edit, as long as it passes legal.
I second it.
Roll call. Aye.
Director Gibson.
Aye.
Aye.
Flynn.
Aye.
Director Betos.
Aye.
Director Gay.
Aye.
That passes.
And to clarify Director Gallegos' motion, that was to adopt both resolutions as amended.
Thank you.
You need to do another roll call for the second resolution. Thank you. Everybody go with that, she's using. Thank you. Okay. Quarterly budget report, 2024-2025.
So second quarter budget halfway through the year, we should be at 50% revenue, although that's a little skewed because we get our first 55% draw. So even with that, we're sitting at 58% for revenue. Some of that is bolstered by our ample CFAA capital reimbursement, fire deployments. On the other end of that equation is always expenditures. Again, it should be around 50%. As you can see, we're at 45.9. So we're actually sitting pretty good for the year so far. Questions?
Discussion from the board. Any questions, Janine?
No, I just would note that the revenue side is gonna flatten out because we do get 55%.
Yep. 55, 45.
50. Yeah, 55,
40.
40, and then,
Five.
and then a cleanup of
Yeah.
0.
We call that 5. Come on.
For more.
More is even better. More is even better.
For public comments, any comments from the public on the quarterly budget?
We do need to adopt.
Yeah, I thought that.
I hear that we adopted 24-25 second quarter budget as presented.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Brown Act harassment, conflicts of interest, and ethics.
Under AB 1234, we're required that all newly appointed and elected members undergo training for Brown Act harassment, conflict of interest, and ethics compliance. Staff is looking for direction on how you would like to structure that. I think in the past, we've either done early or after a regular board meeting, and brought in professional help to run and lead that training. It's usually a few hours, if I remember correctly. Or we can establish a separate workshop to do that as a standalone. Really completely up to you as to how you'd like to structure that. It becomes a very long day if we're going to combine them.
I think that we should structure it separate because it seems like our attention spans are like the last time we did that, tried to do that. So I think that by separating it, we do it Thursday night or Thursday afternoon.
Is there a company that can provide it? I know the answer to my question, but is it worth looking into a company that can provide it online that we can take in the privacy of our own home at our own time and just have a drop dead date, a due date, almost like you do on Target Solutions, that we just click on the link, we take it, and then it sends our completion to whoever collects those. I would assume Kathy or whoever does your training. And it could even go into Target Solutions if we had to.
So the harassment, we've done that in the past, but.
You can do it with ethics too.
The Brown Act, and conflict of interest, I think in the past, the board's gotten a lot out of that. Year after year, you having that Q&A back and forth with legal.
I just heard the comment that our attention spans aren't very long, and I'll attest to that, at least for.
I would not do all of these in one meeting. Yeah.
But I think if we could do it online.
We typically do the harassment through Target. And do we do the ethics through Target as well? And
I believe those are the two that we.
yeah. And then we wrap around the Brown Act, and the conflict is typically in person. And I don't remember if that's a requirement under the Assembly bill or if we can. We can do a little research into that.
I know that I do 3 of those 4 online, so.
Very exciting.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about this unless it's just something that's brand new, but when I was on the Placer County Fish and Game Commission for 13 years, we did this on a regular basis, which was an online ethics training. And you go through the questions, you finish it too soon, they add another hour to it, and then you get a certificate of completion. I'm kind of confused about the requirement of a workshop on this. In fact, I've always been surprised that the fire board doesn't do regular ethics training every year or every 2 years.
We do.
We do. We've actually done it online. I've done it twice since I've been here.
Yeah, usually we push out ethics and I
The
believe
only thing we do in
harassment comes out every year.
an open forum is the Brown Act, and that usually encompasses the conflict of interest as well.
And if it's the direction of the board, if you want me to look in to see if we can do them all online, I don't have an answer for you today, but I will be more than happy to look into that and report back at the next meeting. We essentially have, within the first year of your appointment to the board, to make sure that you get this training. So I can bring this back at the next meeting with some further ideas or recommendations based on what I've heard so far and revisit this at the next meeting. Unless you have a burning desire to go one way or the other, what I'm hearing is you'd all, or mostly all of you would prefer online to do it by yourselves and have a drop dead date.
I just think the Brown Act one is a good one because there's a lot of interaction and board members really get to learn more and make sure that they're following within the guidelines of the Brown Act versus, I mean, some guys just, you know, I'm not the best reader, so I struggle already with, you know, doing the sexual harassment and the ethics one. But the Brown Act, I'm probably definitely getting nothing out of it, but I get more out of the in-person.
I think looking into options and coming back to us at the next meeting might be appropriate.
Could you?
Want to say that I support the idea of maybe a little workshop on related to the Brown Act. The other ones I know are pretty much readily available through different online programs. But as part of that, I'd like us to take it into context with our meeting procedures, because Brown Act kind of spells some of that out, and maybe consider a review of that. One of the things I noticed is that we have some standing things on our agenda, and they're just there, even though there's nothing to discuss. I mean, there isn't an actual item. We just go like functions scheduled. I don't think we actually have, it's on our agenda, but I don't think there's actually, I don't remember seeing anything there. Am I wrong?
There's no memo, but there is a spot on the PowerPoint.
Okay,
That's my
so,
mistake.
so, and when it's noticed like this in a list, we can't take any action on it under the Brown Act. It has to be, an item has to be listed as that you're going to take action. Otherwise, it's an information item, and all you can do is ask questions and make comments, but you can't give any direction. So I was hoping that maybe we could do the Brown Act and also consider our meeting procedures and our agenda in that. I know we just did the policy on the meeting, but I think that was, I know, one of my first board meetings, probably yours too. So there wasn't really a whole lot of opportunity to maybe put some input on that.
So it sounds to me from my fellow commissioners here that they would prefer to do the Brown Act in person and the other three online. And if that's the case, I'm good with that. I support that as well.
In the past, the legal that comes in, they hit the conflict of interest during the Brown Act stuff as well.
I'm good
They
with
kind
that.
of
I mean,
group
it
those
just-
together. I know the ethics and the harassment we've done through Target Safety over the last couple of years. So is everybody good with that, doing ethics and harassment via Target Solutions or Targets or whatever they're called this year? And then conflict of interest in Brown Act in a workshop?
Sure. Now, if we're doing that, would you like to pair it with the meeting? Would you like to do a workshop then the meeting? Vice versa, or would you like to do it as a standalone separate day?
So you've done it as a workshop previously. How
Yes.
long Like a couple hours, is that what I
It's
heard?
between an hour and a half and 2 hours.
I'm wondering if you want separate.
Right.
We did it separate once and we did it together once.
I think it's best. Oh, sorry.
I preferred the separate,
So do I.
That sounds good.
because the one time we did it together, it ended up hitting on a meeting, because you kind of schedule it, and then the particular meeting that we had a bunch of stuff in it, so we ended up being here for like
Yeah.
almost 5 hours.
Yeah, it's like at 10 o'clock.
And that was,
And if you're scheduling with a third party to come in,
exactly.
there isn't a lot of flexibility to move it to the next agenda, that type of thing. And then, like you say, if you don't realize that there's gonna be a lot of other things.
So I'm all for doing it in a special meeting workshop.
Perfect. That's how we're in. Work the plan.
I will work on a date. Thursday, I heard.
Mhm.
And I'll look for a future date and send out a thing. And then probably at the next meeting, we'll talk about a specific date. Or do you want to pick a date now? I hear next meeting. We'll pick a date.
Yeah.
Let me talk to the attorneys and see what they have available that
There you
provide.
go.
Yeah.
That's probably the best thing.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Was that they sent about?
Any public comment on that?
Yes, I got it. I'm a criminal investigator retired from the city of Cal. Every year, all state employees have to go through this because of harassment. And is this strictly for the board members or is this for everybody in the Placer County Fire Department?
So the board members, we treat as a separate entity, but everybody in the district goes through harassment and, well, do we do ethics training too as a group?
Ethics has been assigned this year.
Yes, so yes, we do.
Okay. Because you got now females now in fire department. Okay, if you had females, you also in the military. So that's, okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Please do. Any other board comment?
Typically, the ethics training is for somebody, chief officer and above, that spends money or has the ability to influence the allocation of funds. Is where typically the ethics line is drawn for training
Or award contracts.
or yeah. I don't know that your firefighters, engineers, and captains, unless you have a captain that's doing that, need to take that ethics training.
Program management and all cards.
Perfect.
Moving on. Fire risk management services
Pete?
election.
I got something for you.
I don't want any more projects.
Thought we were just.
Hey, I might even have notes on this one.
Ken,
This is
you got this?
Muso's on Farah. So, okay, I'm good with that too. Fire Risk Management Services, a district JPA for work comp and other benefits. Board is comprised of different district members of the JPA district boards. They have several openings for which they're seeking nominations, similar to LAFCO. People get nominated, they'll put them on the list, they'll bring them back. That can be anybody on the board, or I think either of us two that can serve on it. So at this point in time, does the board wish to nominate anybody to sit on FRMS?
I make a motion to not nominate Pete.
I don't second that.
You're out of order. Ken, you really wanted to do it last time.
I'm always out of order.
Oh, my God.
You want to do it this time? Yeah.
How local is the meeting?
Boy, I think they're based in the Bay somewhere
I think I saw
typically.
some of them are online.
Yes, they're split 50-50, I think.
If I'm allowed.
I believe you are. I think it's fire chief,
I know
district
there's an
manager.
administrative officer.
Yes. Administrative officer, fire chief, or members of the board.
Thank you, Kathy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Go. So I nominate Kathy. Oh, public comment?
Good job.
Any other comment, please?
I'll second that.
All in favor of nominating Kathy? Say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Yes.
Even Musso, he just texted me.
We got a lot.
Okay, Station 18 land option.
So there used to be a house sitting behind Station 18 in anticipation of the build out of the truck room that price blossomed from $1 million to 2.5 that we didn't decide to move forward on. We now have an empty, raw, vacant piece of land. The town approached us to talk about a partnership to improve parking availability in the town of Loomis. They proposed a long-term lease, 5 to 10 years. They'll provide an all-weather solution for parking in that area, including improvement, maintenance, and liability coverage. Staff is looking for direction, and if decided, authority to move forward with finalizing an agreement to bring back to the board for approval. Essentially, they want something like a $1 a year lease, long-term. We can put in a clause that if we decide to develop or do something with it, we can get out of that lease in relatively short order. They're going to maintain the property, which the firefighters are doing today. It's raw earth, so they go out, they weed whack it a couple times a year. It's dirt. People park there anyway. During big events like the parades, the festivals, etc. I think it's a great partnership with the town and an opportunity to continue to build on that collaboration. With that, I will turn it over to the board for discussion, comments.
I just have a question. Are they gonna gravel it or are they gonna asphalt it?
They're not going to asphalt.
You just don't know. That's why I'm asking.
They're not going to asphalt.
Okay.
I would at least, put into the lease that they have to, maintain it and possibly even improve it with gravel so they don't destroy it. And then the district's on the hook for it if we ever go back to do anything with it. And it costs the district a ton of money to go back and fix it.
Their initial verbal proposal was all-weather solution for parking and provide the improvements, maintenance, and liability coverage. But this was a discussion. So if we're interested in moving forward, we'll put pen to paper and develop a lease that really spells out.
Will it negatively affect if they start to use it all the time? I know people use it now, but it's probably not publicly known. Once it's publicly known and the town says, hey, we have this additional parking, what's the impact going to be on the fire station?
It's completely behind the Station 18. So there's actually a lot line with a parking curb and there's a cell tower, I believe, that's kind of is set into that piece of property. So you probably get 10, 12 spaces and a pull through, I'm hoping, is what they're doing. So you pull in, pull out, move down into that alley behind the post office and city hall, town hall, whatever they call that. So, and that's all part of the discussion going.
How many vehicles can park there?
I don't know. My guess is probably somewhere between 10 and 12.
Any impact to the neighbors?
No, we built a beautiful, beautiful cinder block wall for the gentleman that fronts the property.
So where's the access and egress to that?
One's off Magnolia and one's off the alley behind.
Any other questions?
No, I would just say in terms of maintenance, make it a little, is it give a better description of just general maintenance,
I think right now we're just in the stage of,
Right.
yes, start drawing something so we can see it.
Yeah.
I think you should put a sidewalk in there. Entrance way. That'd be nice.
Well, we'll discuss a little bit more of that in a few minutes.
Okay.
Any public comments?
Would there be hours of use on it?
Ooh, yeah, maybe a sign.
Or not late at night?
Well, the town shuts down at like 9 o'clock anyway, but yeah.
Actually, 8:30.
No overnight parking.
No overnight.
Yeah, no overnight parking. That creates an issue for the station.
Abandoned cars.
No.
We don't have that problem.
Put a tow code in there for the sheriff. Yeah.
We only had 2 bums in the town of Loomis too. Sorry.
Any other public comments? Any more board comment? So, motion for the chief to be able to move forward discussing this with the town of Loomis.
I motioned that Station 18 land option is approved, that chief can talk to the city for more options.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. LOES fiscal year 2024 state and local cybersecurity grant program governing body resolution.
Thanks to the work of Captain Donovan Gray, the district has been awarded $100,000 to improve cybersecurity. This is a full grant of the $100,000, no match, to be spent on hardware, software, and training for the district. One of the many requirements is a resolution by the board appointing the authorized agents to act on behalf of the district to execute the agreement and purchase. Resolution is before you for action. Any questions?
Who would be the authorized agents?
Myself, we can name by name or by position. We'll name the fire chief.
And who would be responsible for implementing that? You mean
Donovan.
Donovan?
Yeah,
Is there any succession planning in terms of,
we're working on it.
okay, so does he have like an apprentice that's working under him?
We're trying.
Okay,
It's a very specialized skill set.
no, I totally get it, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Plus, we have the backup. We have a contracting company that we work with that does IT support for Donnie, routine and regular maintenance. So he's not out there flying by himself. We have a team. If Donnie were to step down, then most of the stuff would go to outside contractors.
Yeah. And the other question, how's he compensated again for doing this?
He gets a program manager incentive.
And then what's that? How much?
I think it's 7.5%, if I remember correctly. Plus overtime.
So my question actually dovetails directly into Dan's. Since I've been on the board, it's been a concern of mine that he is protected as an employee, the sole employee running your cybersecurity, all of your IT stuff, that there is a backup plan and he is protected in case you have corruption or some kind of unfortunate thing happens in your system, that he's not going to be the fall guy either.
That worries me.
Me too.
A lot.
For his sake, well, his sake and the district, right? Is he a trained? I get it. Wicked smart young man, really nice young man. I would hate to see anybody take that program away from him. He obviously is very talented, but I want to make sure that he is protected.
He's not performing the cybersecurity stuff by himself all alone. Most of that is running through NDA, our contractors.
Okay.
And then he's there assisting and helping and learning along the way with them.
Okay, great. I applaud the young man for taking that initiative on, and I just want to make sure that he is protected as an employee, and the district's protected. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Public comment? Any motion for this resolution?
I hear that we approved 16-2445 on this cyber protection.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Director Randall, how do you vote?
Aye.
Director Gibson?
Aye.
Director Winhausen?
Aye.
Director Flanagan?
Aye.
Director Gables?
Aye.
And Director Gallegos?
Aye.
That passes.
SCI proposal for providing consulting, engineer, and work and levy administration on Southwestern Fire District, former Loomis Fire District, Emergency Response Services Assessment District.
That's a lot to say. We're going to SCI as our consultant to levy taxes. If you want to know how that works or why it works, I'm sure Janine will host a seminar after the fact. But essentially what this is we contract with the consultant. That contract comes up about every 3 years. This current contract is due for renewal in the 25-26 cycle. It's about a 13% increase over 3 years, front loaded at 7.6 and then about 2.7 each after that. It's what they do. That $13,000. Wait, that 13. I think it's 13,000.
It was close. It was 12 or 13.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it off the top of my head. Yeah, 13,293 generates $1.7 million. So it's who we work with for all of our levies. I recommend that we renew the contract, and I will push it to the board for discussion and action.
I'll just comment that if we don't approve this, then you have to do it. And good luck to you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
So I'm in support of it. Any public comment?
A motion that we, use SCI for former Loomis review administration. I guess
Second.
it's a mouthful.
All in favor?
Aye.
April discussion.
All right. Call volume for January was 335 responses. Up slightly over the previous year, but 2023 was a banner year there at 390. So I think we've stabilized in there. Call by apparatus, Medic 16 and 17, Medic 20 right there at the top as usual. Primary station, 18, 17, 15, 20, and remember these are by the districts, so understand that station 15 is on staff. Response by unit by district. I have a better way to show this. I'll work on that. But essentially what that looks like is if you look at station 15 as a bar graph, engine 16 is the blue, engine 17 is the orange. Those are who's responding into that district. So you see in 16's area, 16 primarily responds into their own district. Engine 18 in the gray, they're in their district all the time. So 19 is a pretty decent mix of stuff. Then if we look at the medic units, here you can see station 20 or medic 20 is running all over, and medic 16 stays mostly in the south and 19's area. Fires in January had 2, trash can and a dumpster. All response, our turnout time is on the left. It decreased dramatically over the last 2 cycles, and our travel time is trending down as well. Kudos to the crews for getting out the door. Unit hour utilization. Medic units are running about 14 and 12%, and the engines are running about 5. Here's a trending graph of what it looks like over a year's period. Ambulance responses per SSV, our requirement is 2 minutes. And we have to be 95% of the time. 90% of the time. So we're hitting 96% in December, and that usually runs a bit behind. Fire prevention, Chief and Golden.
Things are going well in fire prevention, pretty average for this time of year. We had 6 new residential starts last month, just a little under 15,000 square foot of remodels occurred. We took in 40 sets of plans, and between Katrina and myself, we did perform 44 inspections, 1 reinspection. On the new construction side, we're seeing interior work at the old neighborhood Walmart store. The Nugget Market is starting to do the remodel portion on the inside. There'll be a full remodel of that entire exterior shopping center that they're working on the inside. So that's starting to move forward. Facilities wise, we had a kickoff meeting with DC Solar today at Station 19. They're looking at starting that project the second week of March, and they've estimated about 7 days to complete the solar install on the station. So we're looking forward to that. And then on the investigation side, we had 1 Sacramento Sierra Arson Task Force call out. We did not participate in that particular call. We didn't have anybody available. But outside of that, we had no team investigation systems. That's it for prevention.
Here we are, overtime. Fairly spread out between open and OES, vacation, sick leave, and a little bit of miscellaneous. Voluntary is at 75%, mandatory is at 25%. There's a trend of hours. That big tick up in the last month was OES deployments down south. And here's our total dollars. Oh, I'm sorry, that's hours. Here's dollars.
You guys, do we get reimbursed for OES?
We do.
Just takes a little bit of time.
And by a little bit, he means hopefully within a year.
12, 18 months, 24 months.
It's like a Christmas present. It's so long in the past that you forget and it just shows up. Leave usage seems to be right around par, except OT's up a little, a few hundred hours from last year. And again, a lot of that's contributed towards OES. Personnel committee or any other committees and monthly reports from the board.
Labor's subcommittee's going to be meeting here soon. Maybe Patrick can give a little bit of an update during his presentation. But looking forward to sitting down and then coming back with a report.
The personnel committee, we've been doing a lot of stuff with meet and confer over policies, staffing policy. That's where the grievance change came to the side letter. We also have multiple other side letters that should be coming out as a result of the PERS audit and making some changes there. So those should hopefully be coming out soon. Strategic Planning Committee, we have our first meeting coming up here, I believe it's next week. Hopefully we can get some reports coming out of there, progress on things that have already been started, and we're going to kind of set forth the timelines and of those meetings and what type of information we're looking for out of those meetings. So in the March meeting, we should have some more to report back as regards to that. Something else? Oh yeah, one other thing. We've been talking with LAFCO in terms of update. LAFCO has a meeting this next month with regards to the MSR, but also in regards to what we had brought forward back in December with regards to the 201 rights in Loomis. There's a section on that that's coming up there. So if you're interested in that, look at their agenda. It's all online.
Okay.
Chief,
Yep.
Didn't I read that there was some sort of a protest, one person protested? Or is protesting the 201 rights? Did I read that correctly?
I don't know if I saw that yet. I'll look at it in a minute. I know we're having the protest vote on Friday. This Friday at 4 o'clock at the Loomis train station. I'm going to be honest, I probably zoomed through it, saw that it was posted on the agenda. I don't know if it said somebody had protested. I'll take a look. That's okay. Yeah.
Can we attend that?
Absolutely. It's open to the public.
Open to the public, but not as a board member.
Yes, I believe so.
Yes, you can?
Yes.
Okay. I plan on going up.
I plan on being here as well.
Well, because we voted on it and we agreed as a board, that's what we want to do, so yeah.
Correspondence, the only thing we had this year was PARS report, monthly $1.6 million roughly. We took a $41,000 hit. It fluctuates based on the market. It's relatively, what do they call that? Conservative. It's in the packet. Chief's report, Station 19. We met with Supervisors Jones, DiMattei, and Assemblyman Patterson to discuss Station 19's opening. We're planning on moving the medic in early March. We've hired 4 apprentices with the graduation in early March as well. They're doing a fantastic job. We have staff out there training. We have a couple of guys assigned to walk them through that process and make sure that they're meeting the training schedule established by the training cadre. Kudos to those gentlemen that are taking that on. I appreciate it. Kinchelo and Lafayette are working hard, and with Chief Mittling and Kenny Colster, and I'm sure I'm forgetting 1 or 2, but really appreciate the hard work they're doing. Hiring, we have 1 applicant through the process. We reposted our open position this week. CFA reimbursement we talked about so far from deployments this year, $450,000. We still have 1 outstanding from the most recent one down in Southern California. As noted, protest hearing for Loomis Ambulance Services, February 21st at 4 o'clock. We already talked about the personnel committee meeting. Strategic plan, we're updating and prioritizing the plan with a meeting with the committee scheduled next week. EMS training was provided by Dr. Royer, who came out 3 separate times to train our people on EKG. And we're hosting classes the last week of the month every year through Elite Command. We started last month with instructor 1A, and again, they'll be doing that every month going forward. I believe almost every month.
Is that a moneymaker for us at all to host those classes?
Currently, we're getting equipment in exchange for having our classroom occupied.
Okay.
It's a moneymaker.
That's good. I'm great. More classes, the better, I think.
We got these chairs for letting them use our facility.
We're getting a new TV.
We're gonna get the screen replaced with a new TV.
Bill table? Yeah, that's what's on the table. Training room update. The equipment has arrived and will be installed in the coming weeks. With the hopes of having new audio video in this, as we're now adopting and embracing the recording of these meetings, so we should have a little better video and audio. We have personnel moves as a part of the MOU was completed in early January. And that's working out well. And coffee with first responders will be held in Loomis on Monday, the 24th. It's Smithville and Co. 9:30 to 10:30.
On Taylor Road.
On Taylor Road. It's the one on the corner.
Can't miss it.
Assemblyman Patterson is going to be there, apparently.
Supervisor Anthony and Jim Holmes. So Penryn Fire, Newcastle Fire, Pleasant Hills, Pleasant County Sheriff, DHB, and the rest.
Yes.
Any questions or comments from the public?
We got our ambulance.
We did get our ambulance. And it went in service briefly over the weekend. Yeah, for like a day and a half. We had the main one was down, the backup was down, so we kicked it to the new one as a backup reserve. So.
Guys on the town of Loomis.
Sir, what time is that meeting on the 24th? At the Loomis train station?
Smithfield.
Oh,
Smithville Coffee, 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
9:30. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's usually a good turnout. Good thing to do.
Yeah.
Labor report.
Good evening. I wanted to, first and foremost, the apprentice training that's been going on, reiterate what Chief Stewart said. Our guys are really working hard. We got, as he stated, Kinchelo, Stevens, Vautier, Robertson, Colster, Midling, Long, and others putting in some outstanding work, giving those guys good training. They all appear from all reports. I haven't got to train with any of them, but the reports are that they're very nice apprentices doing a good job. So that is excellent. And trying to get them through the academy, preparing them to go online. As far as the academy itself, members have been doing some good work to improve the facilities down there. They're putting in, built a whole new confidence course. So that was pretty cool to give those guys some challenges getting through. Members are working on other training props to facilitate the academy ops and training of our existing members as well. So they are killing it now. Doing a good job. Cancer training. There is a international, firefighter cancer awareness symposium that's in Miami. And this year it's in Miami. And we have one of our members, Captain Green, who is going to be attending that and bringing back those resources and knowledge about cancer prevention and what's available from the international. So he's going as a representative of 522, and they're paying the bill to send him back there to get knowledge up on us not getting cancer.
Awesome.
Yeah. Shift coverage. Our members have been signing up. As you saw in the, I may have been writing as fast as I can, trying to keep notes on my new phone. But as you may have seen, as far as mandatories, there's a lot of overtime and not a lot of mandatories. Our guys are really stepping up, signing up for shifts. So that's a big kudos to those guys that are filling those vacancies while we have 6 people out, 6 vacant positions for paramedic and 3 guys out right now currently on medical stuff. So we have a lot of vacancies and those guys are doing a good job stepping up, cover shifts. The meet and confer, our members are putting in a ton of hours. It was briefly touched on for the personnel committee report out that we've been doing a lot of meet and confer stuff, trying to help streamline some of these policies that we've got. And our guys are in the back off duty doing a lot of work going over these policies on their own time. So good job to those guys for putting in the work. And as you mentioned, we have an upcoming LMI meeting scheduled to work on a bunch of stuff, which I'm sure will include negotiations and all kinds of stuff that we have to get done this year. Hoping to see if we can get a standing LMI meeting scheduled, like similar to how this board meeting is scheduled, so that we have a little bit easier time getting together and getting stuff solved. So that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question. The cancer symposium, is the district paying for that, or is the?
So it's a combination. IAFF is paying for flight, travel, food. The district is covering the time for the employee to go.
It was when he was on duty, so the
Might be nice to have a report out on that.
For sure.
The returns.
I'm sure he will be more than happy to bring us that information.
Thank you, Pat.
Functions.
We talked about coffee with first responders, February 24th. Station 16 open house is March 1st, 11:30 to 1:30. Community event for wildfire. Jeff, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I know it's March 6th, 6:30 PM.
6:30.
At the train station. We're gonna have, I believe,
Myself, we'll have representative from PCSO, PCWA representative will be there, as well as one of the gentlemen from Placer County Master Gardener is going to talk about fire safe landscaping and things of that nature.
yes.
Yes.
And then we have a tentative Station 19 open house in March, pending when we're opening it back up, which I'm gonna step back one. Did we talk about Station 18 and what we've got going on over there? We're partnering with the UC Master Gardeners to refresh the landscaping at the front of the station. We met with them. We're gonna do a kind of a combination learning experience. What do they call that? A demonstration area / landscaping. So we're gonna do some native low water species and some Firewise stuff. So more on that in the next meeting. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Station 19 open house. That's it for that.
No redwoods or palm trees?
Probably not.
Yeah, that's.
Where they're gonna take out the redwood and the palm tree down on Main Line. It splits the state of California.
Really?
Did you guys even know that was there?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. A lot of people don't realize it. In the center divide, as you're going down just before Fresno, there's a palm tree on the south side and a redwood tree on the north side. California's just getting ready to take them out. Guess they have no need for them anymore. Board staff comments. Any future agenda items?
With that, we'll retire to closed session.
During the meeting?
Give us a.
It's nice when we started not having that.
Back on? Go.
Wait, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did we let Kathy know? Is she in her office?
No, she never came to us.
Okay.
No, thanks, Dan. No, you are. It's supposed to be retired. They keep taking on, stuff.
I think
You're gonna love LAFCO.
I think I can talk about this while we're just sitting here. I will not be making the meeting on the 26th with labor. Okay,
26th of February.
Yeah, next week.
next week. I just got notice I've got medical stuff I've got to deal with. So I think it would
You're gonna be
be.
there on the 7th, though, right?
What?
You'll be there on March.
I'll be for the LMI, yeah, so.
Thank you, Kathy, for coming.
Reconvene the board meeting for the Southwestern Fire District to report out from closed session. The board voted unanimously to pass resolution to reject a claim brought pursuant to the Tort Claims Act and to give the claimant notice of the denial. That motion to adjourn? Adjourn.
I got one more for you.